Hello, welcome to this channel. So, I have good news and bad news. Bad news is I lost the entire original video I did of this. Good news is I'm doing it anyway. I'm completely remaking the video. Wow. Why did I do this to myself? No clue. But anyway, so this video will be nowhere near as long as the original because instead of reading all three stories individually, I'm going to just be reading the original and comparing it to the other two and giving context as needed. So yay, it's a win-win. So this video will probably be like 30 minutes, 45, an hour at most, hopefully. Maybe a little longer. It depends on how long it takes me to read through the original story. So, but before I get to that, I want to give some lore, some super cool lore about Jeffrey Killer. So, what actually, before I do that, I should say I'm comparing the 2011 one, the 2015 one, and the Pasha one, which I will probably link at least Pasha's and the 2015 one in the description. You can find the original one really easily. Anyway, not the point. Point is, I'm reading all three of them. Or I'm not reading all three of them. I'm only reading the original and comparing all three of them. So now let me give you lore. So the fun fact, the 2011 Jeff the Killer isn't the original Jeff the Killer. It was plagiarized. Oh my god, crazy, right? So anyway, the story was plagiarized, and the original, the original, it wasn't even a story. Actually, it was a video. It was a 2 minute video, that was originally posted on Newgrounds. And if you don't know, what Newgrounds is, first of all, where have you been? And second of all, well, it's still around. If you may know games like Friday Night Funkin' or Pico School is on there, but or Salad Fingers had originated on there. So basically, Newgrounds is this website that has like little to no restriction, so you can basically post whatever you want on there. So this dude, I cannot remember his username for the life of me, had posted a video about his roleplay character. I don't know the context. Please don't ask me. I don't know what the roleplay or anything was about, but he posted his character's lore, and surprise, surprise, it was Jeffrey Killer, Jeff the Killer, Jeff the Killer Woods, the Killer. Anyway, so he posted that original story or the original video. And so I would like to share with you this original lore because it might be slightly more ridiculous than the 2011 one. So, anyway, you have Jeff and Lou Woods. They're brothers. Don't ask me who's younger, who's older. I don't know. Every story changes, and it always mixes up in my brain. And I do this off the top of my head. So I have all. That's why my information may not always be super accurate because I do research and I don't write it down like a dumbass. Anyway, not the point. I should start writing my stuff down. It doesn't matter. So, Lou and Jeff. Jeff is being a responsible brother, cleaning the house. All of a sudden, he slips on a bar of soap and spills bleach all over himself. Wow! And then he ends up in the hospital, and then he becomes Jeff the Killer. That's like a very, very short rundown of it, and that's not all the information that's in that 2 minute video. But I will link the original video in the description. Yay! Um, so yeah, that is the original, and that came out in 2002, I want to say. Again, I'm doing this off the top of my head. I do not remember the exact date. So, the 2011 one plagiarized the original and just changed things up. Like he does not slip on a bar of soap in the 2011 one, which you probably know if you've read it. That I'm surprised he doesn't, honestly. That's not the point. But the point is I would like to share a little bit more lore about the picture. Now this is a very, very brief rundown of the picture because I don't want to get super into it because I want to get to the reading. But um the original picture, no one knows the origin for it. Like it's lost media. No one knows where what the original picture was before it was edited. And there's a whole lost media search, and people are paying like a lot of money for it because people really want to know. Because the 2002 guy, He didn't make the picture, he found the picture. So no one knows where this picture is, or what the original picture was. So that's my little lore drop right now. Oh, more lore actually. So that one, the 2002 or 2001 one came out, and then 2011 dropped. That one got super big, and then in 2015, when Creepypasta Wiki, I believe is, yeah, Creepypasta Wiki, they have like standards for writing now, which makes sense. They were writing some crazy, really bad stuff. Mister, I don't know how your kidneys went missing. Um, but that's not the point. Point is, they had new standards, and they had the original Jeff the Killer on there, but people were like, "Hey, this does not meet standards," and just because it's nostalgic and it's because it's iconic does not mean it should say it sucks. And like that's not my opinion. That's what people were saying. It is bad, but so they had a competition to have a bunch of people write Jeff the Killer stories, and whichever one got the most votes ended up becoming the official Jeff the Killer story, and that was the one that became the 2015 rewrite, which I think is pretty good. There are some things that I don't really like about it, but I will get into that later. And so then, fast forward to 2024. Yeah, 2024, when my goat Pasha dropped a video about his own rewrite. Um, and it was great. Like like off the top of my head, I can't think of anything bad, but I'll get to that later because, geez, you guys have no patience. I'm kidding. But yeah, so Pasha a dropped a rewrite, and it's really good. You guys should check it out, please, 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 please. Anyway, yeah. So let's get in to the reading of the original not the original, but the 2011 Jeff the Killer story. Mr. Jeffrey Woods. Jeff. I'm trying to think of more jokes I can make about his name, but I have no more ideas. Jeff the Killer, the Killer. No, Jeff the Killer, the Killer. That's the best thing I have. That's the best joke I can come up with. My bad. Anyway, let's get to it. The original, not the original Jeff, the 2011 Jeff the Killer, the iconic one. Yay! Excerpt from a local newspaper. Ominous unknown killer is still at large. After weeks of unexplained murders, the ominous unknown killer is still on the rise. After little evidence has been found, a young boy states that he survived one of the killer's attacks and bravely tells his story. I I had a bad dream and I woke up in the middle of the night, says the boy. I saw that for some reason the window was open, even though I remember it being closed before I went to bed. I got up and shut it once more. Afterwards, I simply crawled under my covers to try to get back to sleep. That's that's when I had a strange feeling. I'm gonna stop myself right there. You're gonna hear the word feeling a lot. You're gonna get sick of it real quickly. Um, warning you now. Also, I love the way this kid talks because he does not talk like a child. Because assuming he's no older than 10, um, no kid talks like this. I don't even think a 15-year-old talks like this. Like, anyway, not important. Let's get back to it. That's when I had a strange feeling, like someone was watching me. I looked up and nearly jumped out. Oh, sorry, I thought I read something wrong. I looked up and nearly jumped out of my bed there in the little goddamn what the fuck in the little ray of light illuminating from between my curtains were a pair of two eyes. These weren't just regular eyes, they were dark, ominous eyes. They were bordered in black and just plain out terrified me. That's when I saw his mouth, a long horrendous smile that made every hair on my body stand up. The figure stood there watching me. Finally, after what seemed like forever, he said it. A simple phrase, but said in a way only a madman could speak. I love that. I Sorry, I moved the mic away from my mouth while I was talking. I love that sentence. A simple phrase, but said only in a way a madman could speak. I love that. That's actually like that's like it's not good by any means, but I do think it's good for this story. Anywho, now let me continue. He said, Go to sleep. That's me. That's my giggling. I let out a scream. That's what set him at me. He pulled up a knife, aiming at my heart. He jumped on top of my bed. I fought him back. I kicked. I punched. I rolled around trying to knock him off me. That's when my dad busted in. The man threw the knife. It went into my dad's shoulder. The man probably would have finished him off if one of the neighbors hadn't alerted the police. I something I've always wondered about like Jeff the Killer as a character is if when he says go to sleep, what would happen if you actually just went back to sleep? He says go to sleep and you go, okay, and then roll back over. Like, I know realistically that probably never happened and you would freak out immediately, but I do think it'd be very funny. And someone should write fan fiction about that, or if they have, please send it to me. I wanna read it. But yeah, that's just something I think about a lot. More than I should. Um, they they drove into the parking lot and ran towards the door. The man turned and ran down the hallway. I heard a smash, like glass breaking. As I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. That's a very reductive sentence. If you say, I heard a smash like glass breaking, and then I went outside and I saw that the glass was broken. That's a very reductive. You can either just say, I heard a smash, cut the like glass breaking, and then say, as I came out of my room, I saw the window that was pointing towards the back of my house was broken. Or you could just say, I heard a smash like glass breaking, and the window was broken. Like that's you don't even need to do that. The first one works better actually. It's a very anyway. Point is, the two sentences are very redundant. There's no reason for him to say like glass breaking and then to proceed to say, yeah, the window was broken. Like obviously, or not obviously, but like it's implied. You don't have to say it. Okay. I looked out to see him vanish into the distance. I can tell you one thing. I will never forget that face. Those cold, dark eyes, not dark, those cold, evil eyes, and that psychotic smile, they will never leave my head. I keep forgetting that this kid isn't like a narrator, like the omnipotent third person narrator we see later on. But, like he talks like the narrator. So if you hear my voice going in and out of like the little kid voice and my normal speaking voice, that's why. Police are still on the lookout for this young man. If you see anyone that fits the description in the story, please contact your local police department. Now that was the opening. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to compare the opening to the openings of the other two stories. Now this one opens with a police report, or not a police report, a news report, where it's like, hey, if you see this guy, this is the guy to call, and then it like has the kid's story or whatever, and it immediately shows Jeff failing to kill a child, um, which does not make him a threat. Honestly, it makes him less of a threat because he fails to kill a child. Now, if we compare this to the 2015 one, for example, 2015 one opens straight away on Jeff and Lou's story, on the fact that they're moving away, or they're moving to a new town, which you will see in a couple minutes with the rest of the story. Which, like, it's better. It's much better than opening on a news report where Jeff can't even kill a toddler. Um, I'm kidding. He's not. I don't think the kid's a toddler. I'm. Who knows how old this kid is, bro? None of them have proper ages. But anyway, uh, where was I? So yeah, it opens on the 2015 one opens on Jeff and Lou immediately moving, which I do like much more than opening on the police report and it's like, bro, what are you doing? Now, if you compare both of those to the posture rewrite, it Pastra opens up on a completely just new character and establishes like then he so what Pasha does is a little different, where it opens not like a police report, but it opens from the perspective of a different character, kind of like how this one was technically from the perspective of the kid. It opens on the perspective of a character. I cannot remember his name right now. He is the original character for that story, but and it opens on it, and he's killed by Jeff, which automatically establishes Jeff as a threat. which I personally like a lot more. And by the way, I should say the original, or not the original, 2011 one and the 2015 one are both from Jeff's perspective, while the Posture one is from multiple characters' perspective. Every chapter is a different character's perspective until you get to the end, and that's when you finally see Jeff. So the first chapter is the guy who gets killed. Second to like fifth ish chapter is police officers and people being interrogated, and then the sixth, the seventh, and the eighth chapters are all Lou, I believe, and then ninth is finally Jeff. So, okay, back to what I was saying though, is that Pashas automatically like establishes Jeff as a threat. He comes in, he murders somebody. You don't know why he's doing it. You have no clue. Maybe, for all you know, he could be doing it for shits and giggles. So Jeff, not Jeff. Yeah. So yeah, Jeff. So in this one, Jeff just comes in, tries to kill a child, sucks at it, throws a knife at a dude, runs away, and it's like he doesn't seem that scary. He doesn't seem that intimidating. The 2015 one skips that entirely, which I mentioned before, which I do appreciate much more than not being able to do the cold open well. I would rather you just not do it at all if you're not gonna do it super well, because you can spend that energy you would use for the cold open on the rest of the story to make the rest of the story much better. And you can always go back and rewrite it. That's my writing tip for the day. If you can't write a good cold open, skip it, and then if you really want to, go back to it after you finish the story and make sure that the story is good. That's my little um writing tip for the day. Is basically focus on the important things. And if the cold open does not benefit your story in any way, maybe you don't need it. So, now here's the main story. Here's the story that everyone cares about. Jeffrey Woods, or he has no last name in here. So, Jeffrey the Killer, and Lou, who he does not have a last name or a prefix yet. So, he's not Homicidal Lou yet. He is just Lou, my favorite character ever. Well, actually, he's my favorite creepypasta other than Tiki Toby. Maybe I'll do Tiki Toby. I should. Let me know. You know? So, I will do Tiki Toby eventually, actually. But yeah. So now, here, we're moving on to the main story, as I'm gonna call it, because that's the one everyone else this is what you guys came here for. Anyway, yay, next part. Jeff and his family had just moved into a new neighborhood. His dad had gotten a promotion at work, and they thought it would be best to live in one of those fancy neighborhoods. Jeff and his brother Lou couldn't complain though. A new, better house? What was not to love? As they were getting unpacked, one of their neighbors came by. Hello, she said. I'm Barbara. I live across the street from you. Well, I just wanted to introduce myself and introduce my son. She turns around and calls her son over. Billy, these are our new neighbors. Billy said hi and ran back to play in his yard. Well, said Jeff's mom, I'm Margaret, and this is my husband Peter and my two sons, Jeff and Lou. They each introduced themselves, and then Barbara invited them to her son's birthday. Jeff and his brother were about to object when their mother said that they would love to. When Jeff and his family are done packing, Jeff went up to his mom. Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you hadn't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid. Jeff, said his mother, we just moved here. We should show that we want to spend time with our neighbors. Now that we're going to that party, and that's final. Jeff started to talk, but stopped himself, knowing that he couldn't do anything. Whenever his mom said something, it was final. He walked up to his room and plopped down on his bed. He sat there, looking at his ceiling, when suddenly he got a weird feeling. Not so much a pain, but a weird feeling. He dismissed it as just some random feeling. He heard his mother call him downstairs to get his stuff, and walked down to get it. And he walked down to get it. So now here's another break to compare the three stories. I was gonna say the two stories, the three stories. In this one, they move because their dad gets a promotion, and there's like no other expansion on that. In the 2015 one, on the other hand, they do move because the father gets a promotion, but they go into like slightly more detail about it. So they mention that they were from Louisiana, I believe, and then they moved to this new area, and that's like a big point of contention. Like people keep saying, "Oh, that's not. Well, this isn't Louisiana, boys," or something like that. Well, so the dad still gets the promotion and all that fun stuff, but in the posture rewrite, instead of them moving because the dad got a promotion, their father dies in the fire, which is also like the setup to like Jeff the Killer. They have, instead of him eventually getting into that accident, he already got into that accident and then they move because of the fire, which I like I like the 2015 one and the posture one equally when it comes to that, because I feel like they both like pull it off well enough for it to work compared to this one where it's just like, oh, well, we're in a better neighborhood now. Bye. Okay, now continue. The next day, also, I mentioned this earlier, but you're going to be hearing the word feeling a lot. You know, you just got to feel some feelings, you know? The next day, Jeff walked downstairs to get breakfast and get ready for school. As he sat there eating his breakfast, he once again got that feeling. This time it was stronger. It gave him a slight tugging pain, but he once again dismissed it. I bet it was just some feeling. um as he and Lou finished breakfast, they walked down to the bus stop. They sat there waiting for the bus, and then all of a sudden some kid on a skateboard jumped over them, only inches above their laps. They both jumped back in surprise. Hey, what the hell? The kid landed and turned back to them. He kicked his skateboard up and caught it with his hands. The kid seemed to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. That tells you what year this was written. Well, looks like we got some new meat. Suddenly, two other kids appeared. One was super skinny and the other one was huge. Oh my god, I always forget about this part every time I reread this. I reread the story a lot too, just because it's super funny. But I always forget about how much they absolutely like just like attack Troy. Like the narrator takes a break from narrating to describe Troy and like bully him. You'll see what I mean in a second. Um, well, since you're new here, I'd like to introduce ourselves. Over there is Heath. Jeff and Lou looked over to the skinny kid. He had a dopey face that you would expect a sidekick to have. I also always forget about that line, and it's hilarious. And more people should be described as looking like a sidekick because I think that's funny. And he's Troy. They looked over at the fat kid. This is what I was talking about. Talk about a tub of lard. This kid looked like he hadn't exercised since he was crawling. So yeah, that's what I meant. He takes a break from narrating to just bully this kid. And I, said the first kid, am Randy. Now, for all the kids in this neighborhood, there's a small price for bus fare if you catch my drift. Lou stood up, ready to punch the lights out of the kid's eyes, when one of his friends pulled a knife on him. Oh my god. Tisk tisk. I don't know how to make that noise, but it's tisk tisk tisk. I had hoped you would be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. I love these like 1950s gangster kids, like mob kids. Like, mind you, they're 12, and then Jeff is 13, and then Lou is either also 12, or he's 11, or he's like slightly older. There is also the chance he's like 15, 16 years old and is getting bullied by a bunch of 12-year-olds, which I think is a little bit funnier. Um, so who knows? I'm gonna be real. I have no clue. Where was I? I had hoped you'd be more cooperative, but it seems we must do this the hard way. The kid walked up to Lou and took his wallet out of his pocket. Jeff got that feeling again. Now it was truly strong, a burning sensation. He stood up, but Lou gestured him to sit down. Jeff ignored him and walked up to the kid. Listen here, you little punk. Give back my bro's wallet or else. Randy put the wallet in his pocket and pulled out his own knife. If anyone has siblings, is this how you actually talk? Because from what, like, the people I know who have siblings, they don't talk like that to each other. Or maybe I don't know, maybe it's a sibling thing and I don't get it. Um, oh, and what will you do? Just as he finished the sentence, Jeff popped the kid in the nose. As Randy reached for his face, Jeff grabbed the kid's wrist and broke it. Oh my god. He's so tough. Randy screamed and Jeff grabbed the knife from his hand. Troy and Keith rushed Jeff, but Jeff was too quick. He threw Randy to the ground. Keith lashed out at him. but Jeff ducked and stabbed him in the arm. Oh my god, he's so scary. Keith Keith dropped his knife and fell to the ground screaming. Troy rushed him too, but Jeff didn't even need the knife. Not knife. He didn't even need the knife. He just punched Troy straight in the stomach and Troy went down. And as he fell, he puked all over it. Gross. That wasn't in the story. That was my own commentary. That's gross. Lou could do nothing but look in amazement at Jeff. Jeff, how'd you do that? Sorry, he didn't say how'd you do that. He said, Jeff, how'd you? And that was all he said. Then they saw the bus coming and knew they'd be blamed for the whole thing. So they started running as fast as they could. As they ran, they looked back and saw the bus driver rushing over to Randy and the others. As Jeff and Lou made it to school, they didn't dare tell what happened. All they did was sit and listen. Lou just thought of it as his brother beating up a few kids, but Jeff knew it was more. It was something scary. As he got that feeling, he felt how powerful it was. The urge to just hurt someone. He didn't like how it sounded, but he couldn't help feeling happy. Um, he felt that strange feeling go away and stay away for the entire day of school. Even as he walked home, due to the whole thing near the bus stop and how he probably wouldn't be taking the bus anymore, he felt happy. And when he got home, his parents asked how his day was, and he said in a somewhat ominous voice, "It was a wonderful day." Next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find two police officers, his mother. Look, yeah, that sentence is weird. Sorry. Not only should this be a paragraph break because it ends it should end at "it was a wonderful day," and then paragraph break next morning. It's also just written weird. Where it's next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find two police officers at the door. His mother looking back at him with an angry look. It shouldn't be a comma. It should be an and, unless I just don't know grammar. That could also be it. But so that paragraph break should have been there. That's why I kept reading. My bad. So the difference between the three of them, here we go again, with the introduction of Keith, Randy, and Troy, the three bullies. Now, as you just heard, they get jumped at the bus stop basically for in the original. Well, not the original. It's 2011 story. In the 2015 one, on the other hand, Jeff and Lou want to explore the neighborhood because their parents suck. They suck in this one too, but their parents suck, so they go explore the neighborhood and they go to the video store to see, like, to check it out. Well, it's technically like a strip mall type thing, but they go to that area to check out the video store and see like what they can get. And they see Keith, Randy, and Troy riding around on their bikes, and like not Keith, Randy is this like tough kid because no one ever stands up to him, and so he starts talking smack and whatever, and then Jeff beats him up, beats all three of them up actually, and like Lou helps too, but it's mostly Jeff because it's called Jeff the Killer. Oh my god. So I do kind of like that. I like that introduction more than them beating, just kind of fighting at the bus stop, just because it makes more sense of why he thinks he can get away with it. Because as soon as you're introduced to him, as soon as he starts talking, he thinks he can get away with anything, which he kind of. I'll explain more later when we get to that point. But now for Pastras, on the other hand, they Jeff and Lou, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but Jeff and Lou are much older in Pastras than compared to the 2011 and 2015 one. 2011, 2015, they're between the ages of 12 to like 15 at the oldest. In the Pastra rewrite, Lou is in his last year of high school, so he'd be about 17, 18 years old. While Jeff is starting his first year of college, so he'd be about 18, 19 years old, 20 the latest, assuming he didn't graduate on time, but he'd be around 18, 19. So, in Pastra's rewrite, on the other hand, though, instead of what's it called? Instead of them like being like child bullies, Jeff and Luke, because remember I said earlier that Jeff had already been through the accident. He was already Jeff the Killerified, as I'm going to call him. So he already looked like Jeffrey Killer minus the smile. But they were in the, well, no, actually, Jeff was standing outside. Lou went into the store. He saw Randy trying to buy a pack of cigarettes. Well, he was trying to steal a pack of cigarettes, and then he got caught. He left. He bought the cigarettes anyway, but he got caught. He left, and Lou and Jeff go outside to their bikes, and Lou knows their trouble, so he goes, "Hey Jeff, just keep your hoodie on so they don't bother you." And they do anyway, of course. They're assholes. But they go to what's it called? They go to like start bothering Lou and Jeff, and then they pull Jeff around. Basically, his hoodie comes off or something like that. I don't remember this like word for word, bar for bar, but they see Jeff. They start making fun of him for the way he looks. So Troy, Keith, and Randy. I was almost almost called them something stupid. Troy, Keith, and Randy are the same age as Jeff, so they're not like really bothering Lou. Like they're assholes to Lou, but they're not really bothering him. They're bothering Jeff. Now, I personally like the other, like I said, I like the other two more because they make sense. And the 2015 one, it makes sense because he's a kid. He's a child who like has like all this power basically because his dad is like the big guy in charge. And I didn't mention this, but in the Pasha one, Randy's father is chief police, so it makes sense that he has like all this power. He can't get in trouble if his father is going to bail him out anyway. Now, let me continue. I'll leave all of my full comments till the end. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Okay, I'm gonna reread also this line because, like I said, that should have been a paragraph break. Where was I? Oh my god, it fucking moved my shit. The next morning, he heard a knock at his front door. He walked down to find the two police officers at the door, his mother looking back at him with an angry look. Jeff, these officers tell me that you attacked 3 kids, that it wasn't regular fighting, and they were stabbed. Stabbed, son! Jeff's gaze fell to the floor, showing his mother that it was true. Mom, they were the ones who pulled the knife out on me and Lou. Son, said one of the cops, we found 3 kids, 2 stabs, and one of them having bruises on his stomach. And we have witnesses proving that you fled the scene. Now, what does that tell us? Sorry, last comment before I continue reading, but going back to this, like here it doesn't really make sense why the cops are on Randy's side because clearly he's a troublemaker if he's been jumping kids for a while. And it makes sense in the 2015 one because his father is like some big shot, and also Randy's been in that town forever. So like they even say in that one like, oh, that cop probably coached his little league team or whatever. So like it makes sense why the cops would be on his side in the 2015 one compared to and then in Pasha's one, like I said, his father is chief of police, but also we never get this interaction either. They don't physically fight in at least according to my memory, they don't physically get into a fight. Or they do, but nothing ever comes of it. So because of which honestly them not like the other two, like I said, makes more sense, and I prefer them more. I actually prefer, in this case, um I prefer the 2015 one a little bit more in this one. Although I love Pasha's, I will keep saying that, but I prefer the 2015 one just slightly more, just because we see that like power imbalance more clearly than just mentioning like, oh, his father's chief police. Anywho, so let me read this section and then I'll go full comments. Jeff knew it was no use. He could say that him and Lou had been attacked, but there was no proof it was not them who attacked first. They couldn't say that they weren't fleeing because, truth be told, they were. So Jeff couldn't defend himself or Lou. Son, call down your brother. Jeff couldn't do it since it was him who beat up the kids. Sir, it was me. I was the one who beat up the kids. Lou tried to hold me back, but he couldn't stop me. Jeff looked at his partner and they both nodded. Well, kid, looks like a year in juvie. That's not how cops work. Cops don't arrest you and then say, okay, you're going to juvie for a year. Imagine how many people would be in jail if that's how it worked. No due process or anything. These kids need to be put in front of a jury of other 12-year-olds because that would be a jury of their peers. Imagine walking into a courtroom and then it's just a bunch of 12 and 13-year-olds on the jury. Okay, but yeah, that's not how cops work. Wait, says Lou. They all look up to see him holding a knife. The officers pulled their guns and locked them on Lou. It was me. I beat up those little punks. Have the marks to prove it. He lifted up his sleeves to reveal cuts and bruises, as if he was in a struggle. Son, just put the knife down, said the officer. Lou held up the knife and dropped it to the ground. He put his hands up and walked over to the cops. No, Lou, it was me. I did it. Jeff had tears running down his face. Huh, poor bro. Siblings don't talk like that, to my knowledge. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe siblings do talk like that. Um, trying to take the blame for me for what I did. Well, take me away. The police led Lou out to the patrol car. Lou, tell them it was me. Tell them I was the one who beat up those kids. Jeff's mother put her hands on his shoulders. Jeff, please, you don't have to lie. We all know it's Lou. You can stop. That's crazy. I know. Okay, I know I've read the story like 40 times before, but that will always get me. How they immediately go like, "Oh yeah, it was Lou. It was Lou." Don't lie. I know this kid's never done anything bad in his life, but yeah, that makes sense. It was him. Jeff watched helplessly as the cop car speeds off with Lou inside. A few minutes later, Jeff's dad pulled into the driveway, seeing Jeff's face and knowing something was wrong. Son, what is it? Jeff couldn't answer. His vocal cords were strained from crying. Instead, Jeff's mother walked in, his father inside to break the bad news to him as Jeff wept in the driveway. After an hour or so, Jeff walked back into the house, seeing that his parents were both shocked, sad, and disappointed. He couldn't look at them. He couldn't see how they thought of Lou when it was his fault. He just wanted to go to sleep, trying to get the whole thing off his mind. 2 days went by with no word from Lou at JDC. No friends to hang out with, nothing but sadness and guilt. That is, until Saturday, when Jeff is woken up by his mother with a happy, sunshiny face. Oh my god, I just realized JDC stands for Juvenile Detention Center. I never put that together before. That's not why I want to stop the section though. Another comparison time. Yay! So, as you know, cops don't do that. That's not how cops work. They immediately send him off to JDC. That's not how that works. He has to go through trial and everything. So, in the 2015 one, I mentioned that the cops come. Instead of arresting him and immediately sending him to juvie, like they do in this one, in the 2015 one, they sent him to go live with an aunt. But Jeff doesn't also go because apparently the boys together are too rowdy. Now, in the Pasha one, the interaction with the cops doesn't happen, so they don't get separated. Which I like. I like that they don't get separated, which because it helps the story more than it hurts it. Especially because it gives more time to show that relationship between the two of them, between Lou and Jeff. Because you don't really see that in this one. Lou basically immediately gets sent to juvie. Now, enough of my comments. Let me read it. Jeff, it's the day, she said as she opened up the curtains and let light flood into his room. What? What's today? asked Jeff as he stirs awake. Why, it's Billy's party. These parents are pieces of shit. He was now fully awake. Mom, you're joking, right? You don't expect me to go to some kid's birthday party after. There was a long pause. Jeff, we both know what happened. I think this party could be the thing that brightens up the past few days. Now get dressed. Jeff's mother walked out of the room and downstairs to get herself ready. He fought himself to get up. He picked out a random shirt and a pair of jeans and walked downstairs. He saw his mother and father all dressed up, his mother in a dress and his father in a suit. He thought, why would they ever wear such fancy clothes to a kid's party? Son, is that all you're gonna wear? Better than wearing too much, he said. His mother pushed down the feeling to yell at him and hid it with a smile. Now, Jeff, we may be overdressed, but this is how you go if you want to make an impression, said his father. Jeff grunted and went back up to his room. I don't have any fancy clothes, he yelled downstairs. Just pick out something, he called his mother. He looked around in his closet for what he would call fancy. He found a pair of black dress pants he had for special occasions and an undershirt. He couldn't find a shirt to go with it. He looked around and only found striped and patterned shirts, none of which goes with dress pants. Finally, he found a white hoodie and put it on. So the striped shirts and the patterned shirts don't go with dress pants, but a white hoodie does. I want to know his logic. I want to know his logic to everything. Um, this is a little side comment because I don't want to get too into this now. The party in this one is some random kid's party named Billy. In the remake, the 2015 one, They, instead of it being some random kid's party, Jeff's mother makes Jeff and Randy hang out to make sure there's no bad blood between them, because Jeff's father works for Randy's father. So to make sure that his father doesn't lose his job, she's making sure that those two get along to a certain extent. In not 2015, sorry. In the Pastra one, on the other hand, there is no party, which I appreciate a lot more. I don't like the party. I feel it I feel like the party is kind of like a stupid thing to get to move the plot along. I never liked the party. I don't like it in this one. I don't like it in the 2015 one. Even though the 2015 one does execute it much better. I feel like it doesn't progress. Like, it's a cheap, not a cheap, but like it's not a great way to progress the story. I feel, and also it feels like kind of a time waster to just set up everything. Like, setup is important. This is not me saying that you shouldn't set things up. You should. But you set up this party and it's kind of like not the climax though. The climax is the ending, weirdly enough. Um but you do all this work to set up something that's like not really important, because it's like it sparks the events of Jeffrey Killer, of Mr. of Mr. Go to Sleep, but you can do that in other ways that are much more effective and make much more sense for the story. But like I said, the 2015 one does set it up much better and executes it much better. I just don't like it. I feel like there's no point of it. Anyway, next up, you're wearing that, they both said. His mother looked at her watch. Oh, no time to change. Let's just go, she said as she herded Jeff and his father out the door. They crossed the street over to Barbara and Billy's house. They knocked on the door, and it appeared that Barbara, just like his parents, were way overdressed. That should be way overdressed. Um, as they walked inside, all Jeff could see were adults, no kids. Oh my god, I wonder why. Um, the kids are out in the yard. Oh, there goes the answer to my question. Jeff, how about you go and meet some of them? Said Barbara. What was the point of saying? I feel like there was no point of saying like they were all adults, no kids. You could have just said. You could have just immediately let in with the, oh, all the kids are out in the yard. Um, that could have been an observation that he made. He could have just walked in. He could be like, all Jeff saw inside were kids. He looked out the back window and saw in the yard all the. I mean, all sorry, other way around. When Jeff walked inside, all he saw were adults, and then he looked into the backyard and saw all the children running around. Not as basic as that, but that instead works much better. It feels, I don't know. I feel like that you could just make that one sentence. Um, Jeff, how about you go out and meet some of them? Said Barbara. Jeff walked outside to a yard full of kids. They were running around in weird cowboy costumes and shooting each other with plastic guns. He might as well be standing in a Toys R Us. Well, he can't be standing in a Toys R Us. Not anymore. They're gone. Suddenly, a kid walked up to him and handed him a toy gun and hat. By the way, that was not a criticism of the story. That was a joke. Hey, wanna play? He said. No, kid. I'm way too old for this stuff. He says as he was just whining like a toddler earlier about not having any fancy clothes. He looked at the kid with the weird puppy dog face. Please, said the kid. Fine, said Jeff. He put on the hat and started to pretend to shoot at the kids. At first, he thought it was totally ridiculous, but then he started to actually have fun. At least he has priorities, Or not priorities, but like, he may not have been having fun before. Now that Lou not moved away, he got sent to JDC. But, now he gets to shoot children. Best day ever. I keep distracting myself. It might not have been super cool, but it was the first time he had done something that took his mind off Lou. So he played with the kids for a while until he heard a noise. A weird rolling noise. Rolling Girl by Wawaka. I love that song. That's not disrespect to him, by the way. He's the best, but that was my first thought. Then it hit him. Randy, Troy, and Keith all jumped over the fence with their skateboards. Why are these three bullying children? They should be in the Olympics. They should, if they're jumping over fences with the skateboards and everything, they should be in the Olympics. Um, Jeff dropped the fake gun and ripped off the hat. Randy looked at Jeff with a burning hatred. "Hello, Jeff, is it?" he said. "We have some unfinished business." Jeff saw his bruised nose. "I think we're even. I beat the crap out of you, and you get my brother sent to JDC." Randy got an angry look in his eyes. "Oh no, I don't go for even. I go for winning. You may have kicked our asses that one day, but not today." I love that line. I don't go for even, I go for winning. It's so ridiculous, but it's so like I don't want to use the word iconic, but that's the only word I can think of. I love that line. I'm gonna start saying that in my day-to-day life. I don't go for even. I go for winning. You're gonna see me playing Kahoot in class, and someone says, "Oh, look, we're even," and I go, "I don't go for even. I go for winning." um, as he said that, Randy rushed Jeff. He rushed at Jeff. They both fell to the ground. Randy punched him in the nose, and Jeff grabbed him by the ears and headbutted him. Jeff pushed Randy off him, off of him, and both rose to their feet. That wasn't the story. That was me not being able to read. Kids were screaming, and parents were running out of the house. Troy and Keith both pulled guns out of their pockets. "No one interrupts or guts will fly," they said. Randy pulled a knife on Jeff and stabbed it into his shoulder. I get that they have guns, but also they're 12. They probably don't even know how to use these shits. Like, Jeff screamed and fell to his knees. Randy started kicking him in the face. After 3 kicks, Jeff grabs his foot and twists it, causing Randy to fall to the ground. Jeff stood up and walked towards the back door. Troy grabbed him. "Need some help?" He picks up Jeff by the back of the collar and throws him through the patio door. As Jeff tries to stand up, he is kicked down. You could have just shortened that to he's, not he is. He's kicked down to the ground. Randy repeatedly starts kicking Jeff until he starts to cough up blood. I don't think that's how that works. Then again, I'm not a doctor, but neither was the doctor in fuck, what was it called? In Isla Shack. So like, I don't know. Maybe I could be a doctor. Maybe there's still hope for me. I can be a doctor. I can go. "I don't know what happened to your kidney. $500, please." Um, I don't know why you're coughing up blood. Be it $14,000, please. "Come on, Jeff, fight me." He picked up Jeff and throws him into the kitchen. Randy sees a bottle of vodka on the counter and smashes the glass over Jeff's head. "Fight." He throws Jeff back into the living room. What is the point of this? "Come on, Jeff, look at me." Jeff glances up, his face riddled with blood. "I was the one who got your brother sent to JDC, and now you're just gonna sit there and let him rot in there for a whole year? You should be ashamed." Jeff starts to get up. "Oh, finally? You stand and fight?" Jeff is now to his feet, blood and vodka on his face. Once again, he gets that strange feeling, the one in which he hasn't felt for a while. In a while, I was right the first time, for a while. Finally, he's up, says Randy as he runs at Jeff. That's when it happens. Something inside Jeff snaps. His psyche is destroyed. All rational thinking is gone. All he can do is kill. But the real question is, can he Jeff the kill? Maybe even Jeff the killer? He grabs Randy and pile drives him onto the ground. He gets on top of him and punches him straight in the heart. Oh my god, I forgot how much I love this part. The punch causes Randy's heart to stop. As Randy gasps for breath, Jeff hammers down on him, punch after punch. Blood gushes from Randy's body until he takes one final breath and dies. That's not how that works. Also, he would have died from his heart stopping. So he punches him, his heart stops, he's still alive, he keeps punching him, and then he dies. That's not how that works. I don't know. I think the doctor from Isla Shack helps if checked up on this guy. Like, where was I? Everyone is looking at Jeff now. The parents, the crying kids, even Troy and Keith. Although they easily break from their gaze and point their guns at Jeff. Why are none of these adults stopping these 12-year-olds? I get they have guns, but like it's not. You can stop them. Um, as no, where am I? Oh, Jeff sees the gun trained on him and runs for the stairs. As he runs, Troy and Keith let out fire on each shot. Sorry, on him, each shot missing. They should apply to be stormtroopers. That's for all my Star Wars fans out there. Jeff runs up the stairs. He hears Troy and Keith follow up behind. As they let out their final round of bullets, Jeff ducks into the bathroom, grabs the towel rack, and rips it off the wall. Troy and Keith race in, knives ready. What happened to their guns? Troy swings his knife at Jeff, who backs away and bangs the towel rack into Troy's face. Troy goes down hard, and now that's all that left is Keith. He's more agile than Troy, though, and ducks when Jeff swings the towel rack. He dropped the knife and grabbed Jeff by the neck. He pushed him into the wall. A thing of bleach fell down on top of him from the top shelf. It burnt both of them, and they both started to scream. Jeff Jeff wiped his eyes as best he could. He pulled back the towel rack and swung it straight into Keith's head. As he lay there, bleeding to death, he let out an ominous smile. I thought that I thought the ominous smile belonged to Jeff the Killer Woods. He's just stealing his shit. What's so funny, asked Jeff. Keith pulled out a lighter and switched it on. What's funny, he said, is that you're covered in bleach and alcohol. Jeff's eyes widened as Keith threw the lighter at him. He didn't draw it, my bad. As soon as the flame made contact with him, the flames ignited the alcohol in the vodka. While the alcohol burned him, the bleach bleached his skin. Yeah, bleach does that. Bleach tends to do that. Bleach tends to bleach things. Um, Jeff let out a terrible scream as he caught fire. He tried to roll out the fire, but it was no use. The alcohol had made him a walking inferno. He ran down the hall and fell down the stairs. Everyone still started screaming as they saw Jeff, now a man on fire, drop to the ground, nearly dead. The last thing Jeff saw was his mother and other parents trying to extinguish the flame. That's when he passed out. Okay, so little break time. I'm not gonna bring up Postras because there is no party scene in that one, but and also, I explained earlier that was already Jeff the Killerified minus the smile before the story started, technically. But so this is just going to be comparing this one and the 2015 one. But one comment: I'm like 90% sure vodka isn't the right whatever it's called to catch fire. That's the thing I have with Final Destination when in the original when the spoilers for that, by the way, if you haven't seen it, but when the teacher dies, the alcohol lights on fire. That the alcohol she's drinking isn't strong enough to do that. But comparing this to the 2015 one, in this one it makes absolutely zero sense, but in the 2015 one, I actually really like that one. I like the part, like I said, I like the party scene more in the 2015 one than this one, because instead of it being a big party and none of these adults stopping these 12-year-olds, Jeff and Randy start like getting along. Randy is faking it, but they start getting along to an extent, and Randy goes, "Hey, I want to show you something," and he shows him the it's not a gun, it's a flare gun. So he holds it at Jeff, like trying to intimidate him, and Troy and Keith pop up. They also try to intimidate him, and then he beats them up. And then their parents roll back in because their parents had left to go to all their mothers, and so their parents come back in. Randy's panicking because if they find out that he set the flare gun, or he was messing with a flare gun, he'll get in really big trouble. So they're all cleaning, all that fun stuff, and then Randy accidentally cocks the gun. Don't make jokes about that. He accidentally cocks the gun and then drops it, and it goes off and hits him right in the face. Um, and so that causes the accident instead of a thing of bleach falling on him. Also, in like this one, him being lit on fire would kill him. So yeah, he would be dead. He would not be alive anymore. Anyway, now let me continue. We're almost done. When my mic went off. Okay. All right. I got a new mic because I have two of them. So the other one is charging. So now let's get back into this. That's embarrassing. I thought it was charged enough. Anyway, Where was I? Okay, so now we finished the party. Let's go. When Jeff woke, there's supposed to be a comma there. When Jeff woke, he had a cast wrapped around his face. He couldn't see anything, but he felt a cast on his shoulder and stitches all over his body. He tried to stand up, but he realized that there was some tube in his arm. When he tried to get up, it fell out, and a nurse rushed in. I don't think you can get out of bed just yet, she said as she put him back in his bed and reinserted the tube. Jeff just sat there with no vision, no idea of what his surroundings were. Finally, after hours, he heard his mother's voice. Or he heard his mother. Not her voice, just his mom. Honey, are you okay? She asked. Jeff couldn't answer, though. His face was covered and he was unable to speak. Oh, honey, I have great news. After the witness told police that Randy confessed to trying to attack you, they decided to let Lou go. This made Jeff almost bolt up, stopping halfway and then remembering the tube coming out of his arm. He'll be out by tomorrow. Then you two will be able to be together again. So I'm gonna skip this part because it's a lot of just like, oh, Jeff is crazy now because he gets. I'll summarize it, but Lou gets out of JDC. They come visit him a couple of times, and Jeff gets to take off his bandages. He takes it off, and everyone's like, "Well, it's not that bad." His mom, I believe, screams. Um, Let me double check. He So also the doctor says, "Let's hope for the best," and that's my favorite part of this whole story. I'm lying. I have a lot of favorite parts. Um. So his mom screams. Lou and his dad just kind of stare. And then Jeff goes crazy, and then his his mom in front of him goes, "Hey, is he okay in the head?" And the doctor goes, "Yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. Just make sure he's once he gets off the medication, he'll be normal again." And so he's going insane. And then they give him his dress pants and white hoodie that should have been burnt to a crisp back, but they're not somehow. Anyway, here we are. The also, and then he. I'll read the ending. Later that night, Jeff's mother woke to a sound coming from the bathroom. It sounded as if someone was crying. She slowly walked over to see what it was. When she looked back at the bathroom, she saw a horrendous sight. Jeff had taken a knife and carved a smile into his cheek. "Jeff, what are you doing?" asked his mother. Jeff looked over to his mom. I'm not reading that, but basically, he goes, "I wanted to keep smiling, but I couldn't because it hurt." But he says it in like a creepy way. And then he also burns his eyelids off. So he's gonna go blind in a couple of hours. But oh, here's my favorite part. He goes, "Am I beautiful?" And she goes, "Yes, son." She said, "You are. Let me go get dad so he can see your face." She ran into the room, shook Jeff's dad from his sleep. "Honey, get the gun." She stopped as she saw Jeff in the doorway holding a knife, and he gets mad that she lied. And turns out he's actually very ugly. And then he kills the parents, and then Luke wakes up, and then Jeff goes go to sleep, and it leaves it as like an ambiguous ending, like that Jeff killed Luke. It could go either way. But it's relatively ambiguous. Now, time for comparisons. Yay! That's what you all came here for. So, Jeff, the 2011, 2015, and 20. I'm going to just call it the 2024, 2025 one because I can't remember what year it came out. If it came out beginning of this year or end of last year. Or maybe it came out middle of last year. I might be wrong. Pastras. Anyway. So let's talk about the ending of all three. Now, this is spoilers for the Pastra one and the 2015 one. So if you haven't read it, go read them or watch the video or whatever. So, as you saw, this one sucks. In the 2015 one, the biggest thing I hate about the ending is that they try to make him saying "go to sleep" seem like this philosophical thing because when they're out of the hospital, when they're going home, because their parents are like more characterized as like neglectful parents, and Lou's going, "Hey, we should do something nice for Jeff," and their mom goes, "Jeff, just go to I mean not Jeff, Lou, just go to sleep." And so they try to make it like some philosophical thing. I don't really like that. I feel like it's dumb. That's just a me thing though. But and then they make it so that Lou for sure survives and like he doesn't get murdered. Um so he just goes, "Hey, I always love you," and then dips, leaving him to fend for himself. And so the posture one, on the other hand, ends kind of in a it ends technically two ways. The last two chapters, the second to last chapter, ends this story basically, which is the Jeff's origin story, and it ends with Lou calling the cops and running out of the house, but Jeff escapes. So Lou is living in fear, and then the cops come and whatever. But the ending of like the full story, Jeff is in Lou's closet going to kill him. That gets explained in the actual story if you read it or watch it or whatever. But Jeff gets is in the closet being a little creeper, creeping around in the closet, and then Lou notices that the window is open, and he doesn't open his windows because he's scared. Remember? Um, and so he opens the window, or not, or he notices the window's open. He notices that he remembers he left the knife in the kitchen because normally keeps the knife near his bed. But when the cops came, then they wanted to talk to him. He brought the knife with him because he thought it was Jeff. And so he notices that the closet door is open, and then they fight, and then it ends kind of like this one on a cliffhanger where it goes only one of the brothers made it out alive that night. So it's kind of like it's technically not a cliffhanger, but it is. It makes more sense if you read the story. If anyone wants me to do like a full breakdown on Pastras or the 2015 one, I will do it. Um but those are kind of so that's the ending of all three. Or those are all the three endings. Now, for my full comparison about writing wise, 2011 sucks. It's written terribly. It's so bad. We all know this. The 2015 one is much, much better. There are a few things I didn't like, which I mentioned throughout the video. Like I still don't like the party. I don't really like the go to sleep philosophical ending thingy. And then Pastras, sorry, other than that, the 2015 one is really, really good. And then Pastras, Hmm. I I like every I might also be biased though a little bit, but I did really like Pastures. There, I can't really think of anything I disliked about it. Cause I for the actually I originally disliked the ending, and then I watched the breakdown video about like the writing choices and everything, and I did come to appreciate the ending a little bit more. But it did still piss me off the first time I watched it. So the ending pretty much, but I like it more now. So there's not really much negative I can say. I think I'm glazing posture a little too much, but you'd understand if you read it. I'm also not an English major, so like you know. So grammar wise, this one's terrible. The 2011 one is terrible. The 2015 one has a couple of mistakes, and then the posture one I believe doesn't have any mistakes when it comes to grammar. None that I noticed, at least, where it was like distracting from the story. Now, the characterization between the three versions. They have no characterization in the 2011 one. Like everyone is a prop except for Jeff. In the 2015 one, everyone is a prop except for Jeff, Lou, and Randy, where they're all kind of every other character is just kind of there. But in the posture one, every character feels like a character, even if they don't have dialogue. For example, Troy and Keith don't just feel like these sidekicks; they are their own characters, and they do their own thing, Like of course they're still gonna be related to Randy in some way because that's like their whole thing. But they feel like characters. They don't feel like props. Now, what was the I had like other things planned I wanted to talk about, but now I can't remember it because like I said earlier, I do this off the top of my head. Um But yeah, you know what? That's everything. Yeah, that's everything. So that was my opinion on the three of them. That was also my very great reading of Jeff the Killer, Jeff the Killer Woods, aka Jeff the Killer. So next video will be Homicidal Lou, Jane the Killer, and Nina the Killer. Yeah, Jane. Oh, God, I could not remember her name. I loved her too. So next will be those three, and then maybe the Tiki Toby video. Maybe I don't know. I love Tiki Toby. I might do Tiki Toby and Clockwork together because even though they're not the characters aren't officially dating anymore, they Clockwork was made kind of for Toby. So maybe I'll do both of them together. Depends. I don't, or I can, or ooh, you know what? I could do X Virus and Toby too. X Virus, Toby, and Clockwork, depending on how long the story was, because Toby's story is kind of long. Um, so maybe I'll do all three of those together, or I do also really want to do Sonic.exe, so maybe I'll do. You know what? Here's the schedule for the upcoming weeks. This video drops Monday, and then the week after, I'm gonna do Lou, Jane, and Nina. I might have to split up that video if it gets too long, so I might do because Lou's is short. Lou's is like 2 paragraphs maybe, but I know he also has multiple stories, so maybe I'll do one video dedicated to Lou, like how I did this one, and then do Jane and Nina together because they were both created like in response to Jeff. And then after those videos or that video, depending on what I plan on doing, I will do Tiki Toby, X Virus, and Clockwork. I might have to split them up, so maybe I'll do Toby alone, and then I'll do Clockwork and X Virus together, or I'll do all three of them separately. And then after that, or actually, no, sorry, I did that. I did that wrong. So I'm gonna do Lou, Nina, and Jane, maybe together, maybe separately, depending on how long their stories are, and how long the videos get. And then I'll do Sonic.exe after that video or those videos, depending on how I have to split it up. And then I'll do Tiki Toby, X Virus, and Clockwork, which I will either do all three of them together or I'll split them up depending on how long the stories get. Because Toby's story I know for sure is long. I've never read X Virus's story and I've never read Clockwork stories. Everything I know about Clockwork comes from the fandom. So it'd be my first time reading the Clockwork story. So yeah, that's my schedule for the next couple of weeks. And then maybe I'll throw in another video in there somehow about cuz I've been wanting to make a video about Tatsuki Fujimoto. If you don't know who that is, he wrote Chainsaw Man, Goodbye 80. Um he recently got like kind of a short film type thing where uh it's multiple stories in one season of an anime. It's called 1722, I believe. So I might throw in a Oh, he also wrote Fire Punch. But I might throw in that Tatsuki Fujimoto video. I might not. And then I will also eventually, maybe depending on how much I like the book by the time I finish it, do a video about a book called what is it called? um it's called it's called some not When You Reach Me. That book that's not that. It's called like Look at Me or something like that. I'll if I remember the name of the book, I'll tell you. But I'm reading it right now for class. I don't really like it so far. It's kind of boring. So maybe I might not make a video about it, but I might. Who knows? It all depends. So thanks for watching. Maybe if you got this far, good evening, good night, good morning, whenever you're watching this. Bye.